we could do that all day, Coach. But when I want to talk specifics, I get deer in the headlights. I get nothing.
I tell this to everybody that I work with. I said the cell phone is the greatest invention for youth sports, because I'll put it in slow-mo, because I'll tell a kid, hey, keep your hands inside, or hey, your stride is too big, or hey, your stance is too small. And they're like, no, I'm doing it right. Like they want to argue with you. And I was like, hold up, come and look at this. And I'll show them their video, and I was like, you can't lie to yourself. Like, you can sit here and argue with me, but you can't lie to yourself. And they're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden the barriers, the barriers fall down. And they're like, okay, what do you want me to do? And so you tell them like, okay. And then you record them like, you see the difference? Like, yeah, I can see the difference. So yeah, the cell phone is like the greatest invention for youth sports. Like I use it. I record. I have to delete so many videos because my phone gets so full. I have to delete. Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, I wish I still had that video so I could show them, but I move on.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new app, searching for a fade feeling, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, text some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talk your wisdom out of.
Welcome in, everyone. Episode 180, Exit Velocity, with our guest, Coach Sanchez. Coach, hey, Coach, can you put me in? I just want to start right there. I know you hear it all the time. Put me in, Coach. Can you put me in next game?
Man, I'll put you in leadoff spot, man. Shortstop, center field. You come where you want to be. We'll get you as many at bats as we can get.
I'm fast, Coach. I'm fast. And so I won't let you down. It may not go out the ballpark, but these little feet will be scooting. Speed is what I got. Even at this point in my life, I'm still pretty fast. But hey, Coach, let's just jump in right there. For those who don't know, what are the things that you coach, and then what do you prefer to coach? What do you focus on?
So my day job is I'm a PE coach. Been doing that for 3 years. I work with pre-K to 6th grade. So I'm teaching all kinds of motor skills, locomotor skills with them. Teamwork, leadership, everything there. But my love and my passion is baseball. And that's what, since I can remember, I always tell people I was born with a baseball and a glove in my hand. And my uncles really instilled, especially my Uncle Omar, he really instilled the love of baseball in me. And I mean, I'm about to be 44 in July, so that's about 40 years of baseball that I can remember that I've either played, coached, been assistant coach. And so, yeah, baseball is really, really what I really dive into. I love all sports. Don't get me wrong. Love all sports. Okay. Yeah. But, yeah, baseball is the sport that I really, really go along to my teaching aspects.
I'm gonna give it a guess, Coach. You were born July 23rd.
Ooh, close. 16th, July 16th.
Oh, I'm July 17th.
There you go. That's pretty cool.
I was just trying to put you away from me. That's why I went there. But I was like, no, don't stay. So pretty cool. All right, so Coach, I gotta know. Let's go back. You said it was Uncle Omar, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Uncle Omar. Was Uncle Omar good back in his day?
Oh man. I mean, so I didn't get to see him play in high school, and as soon as he graduated, he went to the workforce, so he didn't really go play college. But my grandma saved a lot of clippings, and so as a little kid, I would sneak up to his old bedroom that was there, and all the clippings were there, and of course I'd be reading through them. You know, he hit a home run, or he pitched a great game, and of course my grandpa loved baseball, and he would just tell me, oh, Omar would do this, and I remember when Omar did that, and so I just heard those stories, and so I knew he was good. And just a quick little story, I know that he one day was just at a mall somewhere, and one of the kids that he played against said, hey, so where'd you end up going? He's like, oh, I didn't play, I went straight to work. And the guy goes, well, I went to Tech, and the Tech coach there was asking about you, wondering where you went. So I know there was some coaches out there were probably looking at him, but my grandpa had an oil field business, and so when it was time to graduate, it's time to get to work for him that time.
Yeah. Okay. So then, I mean, I hate to do this to you, Coach. Listeners, viewers, I told Coach Sanchez this is going to be nice, but I'm gonna hit him with the hard stuff right now. Hey, Coach,
bring it.
Did your skills live up to Uncle Omar? Were you on par?
Man, I don't know if I was on par with him. He played shortstop and he pitched. I was a third baseman. I started off at second. So genetically, my Uncle Omar, maybe in high school, maybe about 6'1", 6'2". I probably touched about 5'9", maybe. Wow. Yeah. And I started off at second base, moved over to short, and ended up at third base at high school. Defensively, I didn't get to see him play defensively, but I know my defensive game. I was probably better at him defensively. Hitting wise, he probably had, I know he definitely had more pop than I did offensively. Arm wise, well, he was a pitcher. I wasn't a pitcher, so I know he probably had more velocity up on the hump. I was pretty accurate.
That's what I was gonna say. I gotta be rude. I gotta get in there now. We talking baseball here, Coach. Coach, they put you at third base. What that arm look like going across that diamond over to first? You got some pop coming out of there?
Well, I mean, it wasn't high velocity, but I got it across the diamond and I was really accurate. So I mean, if I caught that ball and was usually pretty good at catching the ball was gonna get there. So I mean,
good stuff. That's the good stuff, Coach.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, different. We played the game differently. I think the game probably came natural for him. I think he was just a natural athlete. It was probably really smooth. I had to learn. I think that's why I got into coaching, because I wasn't just athletically gifted with a lot of gifts. So I had to learn the process of how to properly get in front of the ground ball, how to work my footwork, how to turn my shoulders when I'm gonna make a throw. Don't just lob it over there. So, I had to learn that. I think he, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he learned it also, but he was just God just kind of gave him a great arm. And he was like, I can take my time with this ground ball and I can just use the velocity. I had to make sure I got there on time and got it right to get the out. But yeah.
Coach, that brings me to a little bit about what you do. All right. We know that Michael Jordan, even to this day, had one of the highest verticals of anyone coming out of college. I mean, yeah, we can do some stuff over the summer. We can work on these calves, these quads, but we know there was some great athletic genes that Michael Jordan inherited. But Coach, what happens to these really bad kids that you get? Their parents have never spent any time. And I'm saying bad, but you know what I mean. I coach youth sports right now too, Coach. But you know what I'm saying? Like they just don't have it. Coach, I'm always shocked. Why don't parents realize I'm going to need to get out in the front yard and start throwing with my kid? So when your kid is not good and is really struggling, why aren't they doing that? And they're depending on Coach Sanchez for the 2 times a week. Coach, looking at you, I'm about to make you mad here. You look like you a 3 or 4 time a week coach. You be making these families quit soccer teams and stuff to come to your practices. But that 1 hour that you have them, maybe an hour and a half, why do more parents not spend more time helping the kids and think that you're going to do it all? Doesn't that stunt the kids' development?
So one thing that I really try to have a really good communication with my parents right off the start. I kind of tell them like I'm the hitting doctor, or I'm the pitching doctor, or I'm whatever doctor. And I tell them straight up, I say, we can work once a week, maybe twice a week, even 3 times a week. I go, but if it's like me, when I go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, coach, you need to quit going to McDonald's. You need to start walking 30 minutes a day. You need to hit the weights 3 times a week. And then I leave the doctor's office and I forget everything. And I just go to McDonald's and I don't walk and I'm sitting on the couch. I said, guess what? When you come back to me, it's going to be the same thing. So when I give my lessons, not only am I talking to the kids, I turn around and talk to the parents. I'm like, look, this is what we're working on specifically. We're trying to get his hands inside the ball, or we're trying to get his stride to be at a comfortable distance, or we're trying to get his stance, start off beginning with his stance. Whatever the situation is, I'm talking to them. And then I tell them, watch these drills. And I tell them, you can record these drills because we can do once a week, twice a week. My high school coach used to say, I'm not a baseball fairy. I'm not going to come down here and just twang, you're a great baseball player. You are going to have to spend the time. And I tell the kid, I said, if your dad can't do it, there's a lot of drills that I show them that they can do just with a bat and just open space. There's drills that they can do hitting a wiffle ball where they're not going to break something for just 10 minutes a day. Literally, I tell my kids, I say, you got to do it 10 minutes a day. And that's when you're going to start seeing the development happen. I said, even if you come to me 3 times a week, you're not going to see growth, because there's going to be a time where you don't come see me for 1 week or another week. I said, but if you can do it every day, and I tell them, if you don't need mom and dad, now it's important for mom and dad to push them and help them, especially in the young ages. But at some point, it's going to have to come up to them to where they're going to want to do it on their own. Because if the game is if they want to grow in the game because that's what they want, not because mom and dad want it, then they're going to have to show it on their own. You know, they're going to have to go out there and they're like, hey, I'm going to go to the backyard and I'm going to go hit.
So I feel like, Coach, we're close in age, and we're from a different time. Coach, there was one time that my mom took a line drive off her eye. I'm in the outfield playing center, just me, her, and my buddy, and she's pitching to my buddy. It was a tennis ball, thank God, and he smashed it. And all I know is it hit her in the eye, and I felt really bad. But all jokes aside, we didn't laugh at the time, but jokes now about it. I appreciate that she was at least out there trying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm just curious, and I'm hoping some of the parents can hear this and listen to this. They don't have to be amazing, right? Like,
oh no, they don't have to be amazing. And that's why I try to tell them. I was like, hey, ask me questions. Ask me, because for a kid, my dad wasn't baseball. My dad came from Mexico like around 15, went straight to the oil field, started working. It was my uncle who's the one that would take me to practice and stuff. But I tell my wife this all the time. I said, my dad never missed one game in my entire life. He was at every game that I was at. So for a kid, the fact that their parent is there or whoever it is there, that means a lot. Even if it's just catch, even if it's just tossing a ball. And I tell the parents, I said, the kids know what a good hit sounds like. So if you're just putting a ball on a batting tee and you don't have to teach them, and they're just there hitting it, they're going to know what it sounds like when a ball hits good off a bat. You don't have to tell them, hey, make this good. They're going to start making their own adjustments. Because I was telling my hitters, I said, man, hitting is the greatest feedback, because you're going to know, oh, that was a good hit. That was like instantly. You're going to know that, and you're going to make those adjustments. So, I tell my parents all the time, it's like, take them out there, go play catch with them, put a ball on a tee. You don't even have to talk baseball, just talk life, but they're doing something they're enjoying and they're getting better at it. So I really do encourage parents to actually do that more.
Coach, when it comes to you and your understanding as a coach, Magic Johnson tried to coach, Larry Bird coached. I'm trying to think of some other players. Doc Rivers coached in the NBA. And then, we know a bunch of baseball guys were players. Coach, was it a point where you realized to yourself, I need to coach. I need to coach because I do a great job of explaining things, or I know what it was like that for not having the God-given talent. When did that occur for you, that moment?
I don't think it clicked for me till later on. I started coaching my junior year in high school. So I would play my games, I would practice or whatever at high school. And then my uncles had my cousins were playing and my little brother was playing. So they wanted to coach the higher division and they needed somebody to coach the lower division. So they asked me and a couple of my friends. So I went down there and I was coaching 8 and 9-year-olds, I think. And I was like, man, this is pretty fun. It's exciting. I graduated, and then my uncle Omar's brother, Vito, he started a travel ball team. It's like, come on, come help us. So I started doing it just as fun. And then all of a sudden, I just realized, you realize, okay, I'm not going to play anymore. What is it but I love the game. I still want to be in the game. I still want to be involved. And so selfishly, it was part about trying to stay in the game. And then it turns out in the long run, you realize that the game's actually giving you more back than when you're putting in, but it's giving you more, like the relationships, the continuous of the excitement of the game. I'm still learning. I am continually learning. I don't ever try to pretend that I know it all. But I want to say maybe when I was about, maybe my third year of coaching high school, I was an assistant coach at the high school. And I realized, I said, man, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to want to pursue. I just knew I wanted to stay in the game. And I was like, well, how can I stay in the game? Well, get into coaching. And because when I was younger, I was always saying, well, you know, I'm talking about like a 10, 11-year-old. You always want to play major leagues, or you want to play the NBA or the NFL. And I'm going to be a major leaguer. And then I was saying, when I finish major league, I'm going to become a broadcaster. Well, I don't have the vocabulary, and I'm not quick with my tongue to be letting the world know what's happening on the field with my tongue. So I knew that was out of the picture like right away. But when I got that taste of coaching, man, it was really eye-opening. And I mean, I'm still doing it today. I'm not doing it with a team per se now, but I'm still doing it individually with players and small groups. But yeah, maybe I would say maybe about 20, when I was about 25, 26 is when I realized, man, this is what I want to do.
Hey, Coach, are there any people that you've had to give up on? He's like, hey, bro, you might want to go trade basketball. Or is there anyone that you've had to give up, or you had to say, this is not for you?
Man, I'm trying to think. Well, in the personal lessons, it's not so much where I say this is not for you. I see it a lot when there's the parent wants the kid to play. So you got yourself like a 10-year-old. You got yourself a 10-year-old, and then mom and dad are signing them up because they love baseball or they love softball, and they sign them up, and it's like that hour lesson is like pulling teeth.
Yep.
You know, and it's like they don't want any part of it. They're just there because mom forced them there. And then it's, you know, I live in West Texas, so it's like this dry heat in the summer. So it's like 92 degrees, you know, about 11 o'clock. And we're sitting there and the kid's like, can I get another drink? I was like, you've already finished it. It's only 10 minutes into the lesson. You know, it's just like, come on, man. So it's like, you have to have those conversations with the parents. Like, you know, he's just not showing me that he wants to be here. He's not looking at this as a growth opportunity or even as fun. You know, I was real hesitant to see which age I would cut it off, or what age I should start off at. And I got a 7-year-old who I started when was 6, and I was really hesitant because there's only so many things. I would always tell him, no, if you just play catch with him, if you just put a ball in the tee, if you just work hand-eye coordination, you can do all that at home. You don't need me. But this little 6-year-old who's now 7 has really surprised me. Like, he shows up and he's ready to work and he's loving it. And when, you know, like, all right, we got 5 minutes. He goes, just 5 more minutes. Can you come on, Mom? I want to stay longer. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I got somebody behind you or whatever. So that's where I've seen it. When I was coaching high school, it was more like you would see kids so in the high school level, we would cut kids. We would cut kids. And so it was usually a kid who maybe they were in a sophomore, junior year, and we saw in their freshman or sophomore year, and they just didn't have growth. And we would have those meetings with them. We're like, hey, if you don't improve, you know, if you don't get stronger, if you don't hit the weight room, if you don't, you know, work on your hitting skills a little bit more, you know, this time next year, we're not gonna have this conversation. You're probably gonna get cut before the season. So we've had those moments where we would tell a kid, hey, you know, unfortunately, you're just not gonna make the roster. So as part of a staff, I have told kids, hey, you're just not cutting it. Usually it's because of numbers. You know, if you have a large group of kids who come and try out, you can only have we used to try to carry anywhere from 15 to 16, 17 max on a varsity staff. And so, you know, when you got 3 teams and that's what you're carrying, but you're bringing about 75 kids in, unfortunately, you're going to have to make some cuts.
I'm so curious, Coach. How does the tee still work nowadays? I see videos and the pros. You think there's still usage out of a tee, even though you're playing a game where the ball is moving, but hitting it in a stationary position is still helping hand-eye coordination?
It's the greatest thing for hitters. Like, to this day, I mean, the purpose for the tee is because we're not focused on timing or the rhythm of the ball coming in. We're working more on arm mechanicals. Are we rotating? Are we staying behind the ball? We're looking more at that instead of like, am I timing the ball? Especially for little kids. Like, I get these like 12 years, I don't play T-ball no more. It's like, no, we're not playing T-ball, but you're having issues with your rotation, or you're having issues with something specific. So we're taking an element out of we're isolating it. It's pretty much, sometimes we'll do backhand swings, or sometimes we'll get on our knees and we're working upper body, or we'll get already in our stride, so we don't take that step. So we're already in our stride. So we're isolating something specific, and that's what a tee allows us to do, is that we're going to isolate something specific that we want to work with a hitter.
Wow. Okay, so then I can work the tee. What about when the pros go to their home run derby? They're bringing their own pitching coaches. Oh, what's up with that, coach? Anybody can throw you the ball. What's the difference?
It probably has to do with familiarity. I've seen some where they'll bring their dad or their little league coach, so they're probably trying to just, hey, thank you kind of thing. But it's probably a lot of familiarity. That coach probably knows exactly what zone he likes to hit the ball out of. Probably the familiarity with the speed, I think it'd be funner if you brought somebody in and just had a random pitcher for everybody and just change speed a little bit. I think that might be a little fun, but I think that's what it is. I always joked around. I had a friend named Coach Ramirez who when we were in our 20s, we still loved to hit and stay. So we would stay after practice sometimes and we'd try to hit. And, man, he knew how to put that ball perfectly right where I enjoyed it. And I said, man, if I ever get in a home run derby, man, I'm bringing you along. So I know what those major leaguers are doing, man. They just feel comfortable and they put that ball right where they need it. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing.
I'll let them at that. Coach, we're gonna go back in time, but I want to stay where we're at just for one more quick second when we're talking about coaching. How are things different now? I feel like there are more water breaks now. I feel like it really matters if they have their own bat versus, Coach, I just remember grabbing any bat, just as long as we had a bat.
Man, this is a long and deep rabbit hole we can get into right here.
Hey, let's do it.
Man, I mean, where do we start? You're right. So when I was a kid, it was one bat. It was one bat, maybe several bats in there, but you grabbed one bat. I didn't have a bat. Growing up, I didn't have a bat. The first bat I got was on my senior year. The start of my senior year, my uncle, and look at this. It took my Uncle Omar, my Uncle Vito, and my parents to all pitch in to buy me a bat. And yeah, so it was my senior year. Up until then, I used the team bat. Whatever the team had, that's what I had. My junior year, my uncle and my uncles and my parents told me if I made varsity, they'd buy me a glove. And so I was one of those growing. Even my sophomore year, I had a glove that had a tear in it. It wasn't even leather. It was like a plastic tear, and cotton was still coming out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I look at these kids now. I mean, it's not just gloves. There's some kids who have like their outfield glove, they had their infield glove, they had their first base, and they maybe played first base one game, and they're like, oh, mom, dad, I need a first base glove. And there goes mom and dad to get him a first base glove. Don't even talk about the bats. They're it's, without getting too deep into it, but it's a money grab in some things. You got travel ball, it's USSSA, so they have to have a specific bat for USSSA. They have to have a specific USA bat for Little League. They have to have a specific bat for perfect game leagues, So it's all about money. I feel like that's kind of sad to say, but the youth sports is kind of a little money hungry. I mean, when I was a kid, give me a bat, give me a glove, give me a tire to hit against, and that's all I had. In fact, the bat that I had at my house was because I grew up in the house that my mom grew up in. That bat I found there because my uncle had it when he was a kid. So that's the bat that I used at home. And but
the family.
Yeah. It's changed so much. It's changed so much from like parents, right? I'm sure parents complained a little bit back in the day about their kids' playing time. But today it's with travel ball. Well, if my kid's not playing, well, I'm gonna go look for another team. Or if my kid's not playing, even at the high school level, I've seen it where it interferes. Where my kid's not playing the position I want him to play, so I'm gonna go make an uproar with the coach, and maybe the coach gets fired, or maybe they have a talk with them, or it's just it's so different. The coach I played for, old school Coach Halsey, parents didn't go up there and ask about playing time, because if they did, you weren't going to see even the field, even as a bench warmer for a while. So, yeah, you know, we grew up in a different generation. You know, you respected the coach. As coach said, you know, I tell my kids this. I said, it's your job as a player to go out there and work so hard where you forced me to have to play you. You know, I shouldn't just say, okay, I'm going to put you in the lineup. Go prove it to me. Work so hard, work your butt so hard in the practice. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this kid a chance. And then when you get that chance, make sure I don't take you out of the lineup again.
Yeah.
And it's not like that anymore.
No, it's not. I was hoping when I had this all lined up, I was like, this one's going to set them off. I didn't know your age, but now I see that we're pretty close. But how about this one then, Coach? This is the one where I'm going to let you know before I ask it, but this is the one I was like, I'm going to get him in some trouble right here. Hey, Coach, where the best baseball players come from?
Oh, man.
I'm from the East Coast. I'm from the mid-Atlantic area. I'm living here in Texas right now. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in the Midwest in Indiana. I've lived in North Carolina, Florida. I've lived all over America. But I want to know from you, where the best baseball players come from?
Well, you know, man, that's a really good question. You know, there's always this talk. It's usually about 4 states that usually get that whole argument of where they come from, you know.
Okay, let's see what you say.
You get Cali. Well, I'm biased, so I'll tell you right now, I'm going to say Texas. I'm a biased guy.
Coach, you didn't even get through your list yet.
No, I didn't get through it. If you want to know who number 1 is, I mean, you got Nolan Ryan, you got Roger Clemens, you know, you just historically, you got, but like if you go through the college ranks, because professional is hard, you know, that's really hard. So I would say more the college ranks. That's where you're getting a lot more kids. I mean, California, Texas, Florida, and man, I would say maybe Georgia, Louisiana, right around there, that area, probably. Yeah. Texas, honestly, probably because of the size. Yeah. You know, if it's size, and there's just so many everywhere. California's got a lot of really good athletes in everything. There's just a lot. I think it's just California's just a place where everybody kind of migrates to because of the climate and everything over there. So you're going to get kind of the best of the best over there too. Florida's kind of the same thing as Cali. People like to go live where the sun is at and stuff. But I'll tell you, I'm from West Texas. I don't know if you know where Midland, Odessa's at.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, so I grew up in a small town north of Odessa, about 30 minutes north of Andrews. When I graduated, we had maybe about 8,000, 9,000 people living there. And it's oil field, you know, a bunch of roughnecks. In fact, in the summers, that's what I did. I worked for my grandpa in the oil field. But my coach at high school, I remember reading an article once what he said about us as players. You know, he talked about how we saw our parents having to struggle day in and day out in that work life and that strong environment in West Texas with that heat. And he would say the players reminded him a lot of rattlesnakes. We could get on that ground and we rough it out, but when we struck with some ferocity, you know. Ooh. And so, you know, so you could talk about the athleticism from each place, but that mindset really, really goes a long way here in Texas.
Man, I like that, Coach. Coach, what do you think about multi-sport athletes, especially if something's competing with baseball? So I'm going to say track competes against baseball. There may be a kid that's really fast and you enjoy that speed on the base paths, but you know, they need them on the school track team. What are your thoughts with those great multi-sport athletes?
So obviously when I was younger, it was like, no, baseball, right? I was a one sport. Once I got to high school, I gave up football, gave up basketball. You know, I played I played street football with my friends in high school. I played a lot of volleyball actually when I was in high school. But baseball was just the sport when I got to high school. That's just what I dedicated to that's what I worked out for. As I got older, I realized the importance, especially studying, and realized the importance of other sports because you're working other muscles that may be secondary muscles for baseball that are really going to help you. So yeah, I'm a big proponent. When I see my little kids, when my private lessons that I do now, and they're young, and I see them as a one sport, I was like, hey, you need to find yourself another sport. Maybe even if it's Taekwondo, even if it's just something different. I want them working, and those sports bring other challenges. Football. I love introducing football to young kids that don't play football and they're just in baseball, because there's a mentality into football. You got to be mentally strong, mentally prepared, and I want that on the baseball field. And baseball just doesn't give you that dynamic consistently like football does. I'm okay with it. Now, when we start talking about track interfering with baseball, because that's as a coach for baseball, like at the high school, that's where I'm kind of like, here's my thing. Now that I'm no longer there, my problem was never that the kid wanted to do track and baseball. If the kid honestly wanted to do track and baseball, go. Let's do it. We'll work around the schedule. This is my experience. This isn't throughout all the track and baseball, problems. But when I was in high school, I remember kids would come up to me, Coach, I'm going to quit track. I want to stick to baseball. And then the next year come around and they were in track. I was like, what happened, man? You were telling me you're going to just stick to baseball. I was like, well, they begged me, or they told me if I didn't run track, I wasn't going to play football. And so those are the situations where you would get upset with the other coaches, because like, hey, you're manipulating. You're not allowing the kid to be free-willed, to have their choice, And so there's the kid doing a sport that they don't want to do. And then all of a sudden, whenever a kid's not doing it, usually when a kid doesn't want to be there, that's usually when they get hurt, So not only does it affect the kid in track, now it's affecting the team and the sport he was also playing. So, I mean, to me, if the kid wants to do it, hey, if that's your heart and that's what you want to do, I'm always about it. Because in reality, it's always about what the student athlete wants. That's what we're trying. If a kid came up to me, hey, Coach, baseball's not in my heart anymore, even though they were probably pumping 95, I can't convince them, And if they're going to go out there and I'm trying to convince them to do it because we want them on our team and he hurts his arm, that's on me, So it's always going to come down to what's best, what he wants and what's best for them.
Coach, it is tough. I know some people, they get a lot of pressure from their coaches.
Yeah.
But when I think back about it, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, I mean, what would we have looked like if any one of us, mentors, coaches, would have said, hey, just focus on one thing?
Oh, yeah.
I think we would have robbed that athlete. Oh,
yeah. And you never know. You never know. A kid may just, even though they like baseball now, they may fall in love with tennis or basketball or football, whatever it is, and you don't want to rob that from them. You don't want to take away that just because I did not get into golf because, there was a whole mindset, oh, the golf swing will ruin your baseball swing, right? So I got into golf in my 30s. And now I'm thinking, like, why did I wait so long to get into this sport? I love it. Any chance I get, I go out there and I play golf. And so, but nobody told me not to go play golf. That was just me on my own. But you never know. You never know. I'm definitely, if a kid say, hey, Coach, I want to try this out, I'm okay with it. It's whenever adults start manipulating because they want them on their team because they know they're better with them. That's where I have the problems with. And for young kids, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no.
I was just going to say with young kids, when you're talking about like 10, 11, 12, I'm a big proponent of if it's football season, play football. If it's basketball season, play basketball. If it's baseball season, play baseball. And then in the summer, get on your bike, go to the pool, swim, run around, be a kid, all that. I'm a big proponent on that. There's a lot of kids out there who they'll play spring baseball all the way to summer, and then fall comes around and they'll play baseball again. And then they're just doing that year round, that's their choice. That's awesome. But again, if you play other sports, it really helps with agility. It helps with strength. It helps with, like I said, mental part of the game. There's just so many more benefits than just being a one sport athlete. You go to college sports and you watch them, these athletes, like they were all state in basketball. They were all district in baseball. They were all, it ain't a coincidence. It ain't a coincidence.
A guy who played out in West Texas, where you're from, may have heard of him, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Quite the basketball player in high school, quite the baseball player, and then we know about football.
Yeah.
I always think of those type of people, And so I'm a fan of them getting that opportunity. Coach, I want to ask you, let's talk about the parents. We talked a little bit about the parents before. How about this? Coach, do you ever give any love to these parents that be taking these kids to all the travel ball games, the tournaments, the season, getting them to the batting cages? Is there anything you could say if you had an opportunity? I'm going to clip this too. Do you want to tell them, quit your bitching? Or do you want to say, no, you know what? We do appreciate what you're doing for the kids. Because I'm telling you, I see them, Coach, and their tongues are hanging out. They're struggling.
Yeah. When it comes to like all the tournaments and all that stuff, like, so this is how I try it. I always say, if I had a travel ball team, if I was the one organizing the travel ball team, this is what I would do. We would play one tournament maybe once a month or twice a month. And we would work on development. And we would practice, and work on development. On the month that we didn't have a tournament, I would call a local team that's our age, and we would just have a 2-game scrimmage at our place or their place. And we would, and the reason I say that, and I tell this to all my parents, I said, man, our kids are just playing so much. And the problem I have with that is I tell them this: the game is your test. I was educator also, so I said the game is your test, right? That's your test. Your practices are your weekly lessons that you're doing.
Yeah.
When you're testing more than you're actually in the classroom, there's something wrong.
Yep.
You're doing it backwards. And so I'm not saying I have it right. Maybe one tournament a month, maybe. But I know that there's some teams out there, at least in my area, they're practicing maybe once or twice a week, but they're having 6 games a weekend. So we got it backwards. There is coaching to be done in games, but the test is the game. You don't see a teacher in the classroom teaching while the kid is taking a test, because you're trying to see what they know. When the kids are, so when I was coaching, I learned this from a coach when I coached with. When the game's going on, he didn't yell too often. He might raise his voice or bring attention to something every now and then, but for the most part, he had a clipboard and he was writing down. And he was writing down, okay, we need to work on base running. Okay, we need to work on that situation. Because that's the test. Because what does a teacher do when they get their test back? Oh, man, they struggle with these kind of problems. So what do they do next week? They go back and work on those kind of problems. You know, but whenever you're playing 3 tournaments a month, that's 18 games, but you're only comparing it to 6 practices that month. How much are you really getting better? So that's that. I would tell parents, don't look for a team who's constantly playing and they're going far distances and they're getting trophies. Look for a coach who's actually developing. I mean, maybe they can get a lot of tournaments in, but are they practicing more during their week? You know, are they getting real quality at bats? Is my kid, when he's having batting practice with the team, is he getting 25 swings a day with the team? Is that more beneficial, or would it be better if our team kind of split up and half the team is working on defense and my kid is getting maybe 200 cuts that day?
Yeah.
You know? So it's just that's the thing that I would really advise parents to look at, because this ring chasing, you have so many kids, we won this. I'm just telling you from my experience, when I was in high school, we would hear the parents come in and like, oh, this is the year we're going to go to state. You should have seen them in travel. And then they show up to us. They don't know how to lead off properly. They don't know how to square around and bunt properly. You know, these are basic things that we learned in Little League, you know. And so the biggest thing I would look is the development happening for your kid. Is he getting better, not just yearly, but is he getting better from week to week, month to month? You know, is he progressing? Is he learning the game, or is he just doing what he's being told? Does he understand why we're moving around and covering a bag when this situation is happening, or is he just doing it because coach yelled it out? Hey, if this happens, go here, go here. Like, does he know why we're doing it, or is he just doing it because he's being told? Because there's a lot of times that, you know, at the high school level, we tell kids, you know, we're going to run this play or whatever, but they didn't understand why. Because a lot of times we would run defensive plays without base runners. Right. And they're like, why am I throwing it back to third base? You know, was like, because the scenario would be, so I'll give you a quick scenario. So let's just say there's a runner on first and second. Okay. And they hit a ball to the third baseman. and it's between third and shortstop, right? And the base runner is a fast runner to first, the hitter. He's a fast runner. So the second baseman would catch the ball. He would pump fake to first as a double play, but he'd turn around and throw it to third base to try to throw it. We're pretending that the runner at second took a big round around third base, and we're trying to throw it behind him and catch him there. But kids wouldn't understand, why are we doing this? You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, these are things we should have known when we were maybe 13, 12, 14 years old, not learning that, why we're doing that, you know? They should have already known. So those are just things that make sure kids are learning along with getting better.
Coach, I found you on IG. It was one of your posts. It went viral. Was that intentional? Like, did you know that was going to catch fire?
Man, I don't even know which one you're talking. It may have been maybe the one where I got hit. I don't know which one exactly you found me on. But
I don't believe it was that. I don't believe that.
So my IG is not for me to try to get famous by any means. I'm not trying to get followers. I just know the world we live in is very media driven, social media driven.
Yes.
These kids love it. So when I have my own personal page, and when I started coaching, I would post a couple of my kids hitting or whatever, and the parents would show them to the kid. And I had one mom tell me, man, he always asks me if I can show him the video before he goes to school that day. He just lightens up his day. And so really, I post my videos, my reels or my stories, or just post to just show what my kids are accomplishing. It's not even about me. It's just more to praise them and to show them. And every now and then I'll put something about me, or I'll talk, or I'll do something. This talking on the camera stuff is not something that I'm really, really comfortable with.
You're nailing it though, Coach. You're nailing it.
I like to talk. I like to talk baseball. I love having conversations. I'm a people person. You got to be if you're going to be a coach.
Yes, sir.
But that just kind of happened because I'm showing these kids, and these kids are like, oh. So some of them started getting like high school kids that I work with. They got on Instagram because I was like, hey, I'm put your reel on. I put this video on there, so they get on there like, oh, so they'll share it. It's really just to show their hard work. And a lot of times, these kids who I've worked with for a while, they'll go, Coach, I can't believe how much my swing has changed. So it's just video evidence for them to say, oh, look how much I progressed. Look where this was at a year and a half ago, and look where I'm at now. You know, I say, just imagine where we're going to be in a year and a half from now too. You know, so it's more of just like entertainment and fun for them, not so much for me. I've had a couple reels that kind of got up there quite a bit, and I don't know how they did it. I don't know how the algorithm works or any of that stuff. But I was really surprised because I have one out there where I'm working with a little girl, and I got too close to the L screen. And I throw a ball, and the ball hits the net, but my knee was right there, and it hits me like really hard. And the audio got really good, so I put subtitles on there and everything. That one got quite a few reels views. And but my other ones that I put, it's usually my students, you know, putting their work in, or them working, or their highlight reels of them doing something good.
No, I like it, Coach. I like that you are a media coach because to what a parent said, I show that stuff to my kids. I like their visual. They're from a different generation.
Oh yeah.
And if I can talk it all day, but I lose them. But I can show them a video, and then they'll swipe, and there's another one. Oh, look at that bunt that they just laid down. Oh, not gonna make it. They made it to first. So you got to hustle. You saw that arm swing. We could do that all day, Coach. But when I want to talk specifics, I get deer in the headlights. I get nothing.
I tell this to everybody that I work with. I said the cell phone is the greatest invention for youth sports, because I'll put it in slow-mo. Because I'll tell a kid, hey, keep your hands inside, or hey, your stride is too big, or hey, your stance is too small. And they're like, no, I'm doing it right. Like they want to argue with you. And I was like, hold up, come and look at this. And I'll show them their video, and I was like, you can't lie to yourself. Like, you can sit here and argue with me, but you can't lie to yourself. And they're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden the barriers, you know, the barriers fall down. And they're like, okay, what do you want me to do? And so you tell them like, okay. And then you record them like, you see the difference? Like, yeah, I can see the difference. So yeah, the cell phone is like the greatest invention for youth sports. Like I use it. It is. I record. I have to delete so many videos because my phone gets so full. I have to delete. Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, I wish I still had that video so I could show them. But I move on. I keep progressing because I don't got enough space on there. But
no, you don't. You're gonna need like 4 phones. Oh, hey,
yeah.
Look at that, Coach. I'm gonna get you a sponsorship. Let's go viral, Coach. Let's get you a sponsorship.
I'll take it.
So you'll have one phone for the individual lessons. You'll have one phone for the team lessons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We can do this.
Oh, yeah.
We can get you there. Yeah. So, Coach, when you're talking to a parent, a kid, again, what do you tell them to focus on? And this is where other coaches they're gonna hate on you. But what would you say is the most important? Fielding, ground balls, pop flies, batting, base running, individual athleticism, because you gotta be able to scoot down that line to get the first base. Yeah. I made that joke to you, Coach.
Oh yeah.
Now I've had a lot of in the park home runs, but and I'm pretty strong, but I never developed a power game. But my teams have always won. I've always been pretty successful. And now I'm talking baseball and softball. Mm-hmm. But Coach, I'm just kind of curious, in your opinion, where do you like to start first? The granddaddy of them all.
Well, it depends on which age group. There's a lot of, it depends on age group. If I'm talking 6, 8, 9, 10, we're really basics. Let's say hitting, right? Let's say we're going to work on hitting. We're really working fundamentals. We're working on their base. Are we staying in our legs? Are we having a good wide stance? Is our bat path coming along good? Are we casting, or are we staying connected? I would work hitting. So when my youth kids, when parents like, well, we want you to work what you think we need to work on, right? So I honestly probably if we do 4 lessons a month, I'm probably doing 3 hitting, 1 fielding. Right.
Wow. Okay.
The coach that I coached under, he was like, if you can hit, we'll find you a spot. So it's the bat that gets you on the field, right? And
yes,
so
sir.
We put a lot of emphasis on that. When you start getting to maybe 11, 12, 13, now we start talking about, are we getting our agilities in? Are we starting to work a little bit of strength training in there? And then when you get to that high school level, it's definitely, hey, let's start getting some strength. You start getting stronger, you're going to throw the ball further, you're going to hit the ball further, so that's that part of the game that's really growing in right now, the last maybe 15, 20 years, the strength, the hitting the weight room. When I was in high school, we hit the weight room, but we weren't doing heavy lifting. We were doing a lot of 5-pound arm exercises, keeping it, you see these athletes now, they're, them shoulder presses, they're using them leg muscles. I mean, they're really hitting it. And it's true, because there used to be a mindset of, you're going to get bulky, you need flexibility for baseball. Well, yeah, they realize you can be flexible and strong. And so, yeah, so definitely.
Coach, I hear you. And all I can think of, tell me if I'm wrong, Coach, you still got those kids with a baseball barrel and a rope and a 5-pound
weight hanging down.
Weight, and you got them rolling it. Is that your style, Coach?
Oh man, that's what I grew up. That's what I grew up. That's what I grew up. And now it's a little bit more, agilities, for the younger ones. Make sure we got, good hip rotation, good hip flexibility. Yeah. And like I said, as they get older, as they get older, we're working. If I have a high schooler and we're working on hitting because he's not a pitcher, he's a hitter. Then we're trying to find out, okay, where's your strength? Let's keep that strength, but where's your weakness? Let's not let our weakness be our weak point. Let's get it up more to par. And so a lot of kids who I work with, we're kind of disconnecting a little bit. We're kind of casting. And so we're kind of working on that a little bit right now. But yeah, it kind of depends where we're at in our development. But if you're asking me if you're asking me specific, like what are we going to work on? Again, hitting gets you on. If you can't hit, then pitching is going to get you on the field, right? So those are
but it's going to be one of those too.
Yeah.
Coach, I want to know, while we're on this vein, what are your thoughts on batting cages? It's the summer. The kid wants to go to the pitching machine at the batting cage, throw in about $10, get 200-300 swings in or whatever. What are your thoughts on that because I know some kids. I mean, they swear by it. There's a line at some of the places we got around where I live. Families line up out front on Sunday morning before the place even opens, just so they can run to a machine and get some swings in.
You know, hey, more power to them if that's what they want to do. I always tell my kids before you go, especially these tournaments, you know, if you're gonna go there, get you some wiffle balls, get you some little weighted balls, get a tee.
Yeah.
Get a tee and just go hit into a net. I mean, the money that you could be spending, you'd be spending on that. Just buy you a good tee, buy you a good hitting net that you can hit into, some baseballs to hit into or weighted ball. I mean, I tell my kids 10, 18 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, you know, in your backyard. Like, I didn't have a batting cage, you know. I didn't have a batting cage. My Uncle Omar didn't have a batting cage. But, you know, like I told you, my grandpa had an oil field company, construction company, and so I would show up to the shop because it was right next to my grandma's house, and my Uncle Omar got a baseball, drilled a hole through it, tied a rope through it, hung it from the top of the shop, and there I was hitting that ball back and forth.
Wow.
Just, you know, and so I mean, yes, the pitching machine is great. I would love to have a pitching machine, but that's like the last part of working up. So if I had a pitching machine, let's say it was a 45-minute lesson, right? 45 minutes. We're gonna start off maybe about 25 minutes of just tee work, working specific drills. Yep. So that gives me 25 minutes. Then we're gonna do 10 minutes, maybe me front toss behind. So we're working on the ball actually climbing. And if we got a pitching machine, then the last 10 minutes we're gonna work on speed, on velocity. But that's if they're struggling with it. But, you know, if you're struggling with velocity, you want to work with velocity. You're trying to get your hands there on time and everything. But if you're not working with velocity, I mean, if you're not struggling with it, there's no need for a pitching machine. You know, we don't need it. And kids, you know, 9, 10, 12 years old, they're not seeing 90 miles an hour, you know.
No.
You know, so, I mean, if you got one, more power to you. Save your arm. I've had a rotator cuff surgery. Save the arm. That's why everything I do is front toss. You know, everything's here. If I have to bring the velocity, then it's like, hey, let's find a pitching machine. Let's go find a machine and let's go use it because we got to work on the velocity. But other than that, like I said, if I had a travel ball team, we'd have 2-3 coaches throwing weighted balls. We'd have one coach working with a kid on tee, you know, one kid, you know, front toss or soft toss into a net. And that's all we're doing. We're not going to go pay whatever we're paying waiting in a long line, you know. No. In fact, when my uncle coached the team that I helped him coach with, we would go to a tournament, and then we would this was before iPhones and you could track fields and stuff like that. We would drive around the town we were at and try to find an empty field that the tournament was at. So tell them, hey guys, we're going to practice here, and this is where we're going to have batting practice and everything before we went to the tournament. So instead of going to the cages, we just went to a field and we just worked on it out there as a regular practice.
And Coach, you sound like I don't think you live close by where I live, but I'm telling you, we are always on the hunt. We're trying to find an open field. It seems like they're locked up, and I understand they're trying to protect the chalk, they're trying to protect the field, they're trying to protect the grass. But Coach, it's hard to find a field nowadays.
It is hard.
It's tough.
It is hard. I'm here I live in Midland, but I do a lot of lessons in Andrew still. But it is hard, and I understand why they lock it up. And it's hard to get a hold of somebody, especially in your hometown, and be like, hey, how can I have access? How can I get access? It is really hard. I wish these parks would have cages there just for the teams and for kids to use. And just, you know, most of these parks have maintenance people who can drive around and check them. You know, some cities now have cameras at their parks. You know, if you see people mistreating them, then just take the nets out, kind of punish them for a while, and then, hey, bring them back up. There's ways around it, but yeah, it is hard. It is hard. The small town that I'm from, we're blessed enough to where we have a few parks that they're still open. The town that I'm in right now in Midland, the turf fields are locked up, but the fields that are natural, they're still kind of opened up. So,
Coach, which fields do you like coaching on? We've got a high school. I don't practice when I took my oldest to a couple camps there. We spent a lot of time. We have a batting cage not far from my house that I'm wearing that cage out. They might as well put my name on it. People drive by. I know they see my van and me in there with my 2 girls. But Coach, do you like playing on that dirt? You old school, you like the dirt, or you like some of these AstroTurf rubber pieces fields? What do you like?
I love that natural stuff, man. In fact, me and my wife, I have grass in the front yard. I take pride in mowing that and edging it up and making sure it's sitting good, watering in the right amount. So Andrews, where I coached, they're the only school right now in our district that has natural. Every other school in the area has turf, and they passed a bond, so they're going to turf it up this coming year. And we're kind of heartbroken about it. The reason I'll tell you why I love the natural stuff, because you practice on natural stuff constantly, you're going to get a bad bounce here and there. That's the element of the game too. That's part of the game. That's part of the game. A bad hop. That's life. You're going to get a bad hop here and there, right? But we used to always say to our students, it's an advantage for us, because which it's less and less now because there's more and more turf fields. But if you got to the playoffs and you happen to play on a field that was natural, it's easy. That's an easy transition for you. If you're a kid who's always practicing on turf and now you got to go to natural and you don't know how that ball's going to bounce, that's a disadvantage. So we used to always say that. It's becoming less and less to find a natural field nowadays, especially at the high school level. But that's what we used to say, is like, we got the advantage whenever we play another team. And we would play home and home games. It's like, okay, in this playoffs, we win the flip. We're playing at our field. You're going to have to go from turf to natural. It's going to be tough on them. And if we happen to lose the flip, it's easier for us to go from natural to turf. But I'm old school. I'm old school. I know there's more things that go into it. Finances, we don't have to water the field anymore. We don't have to reseed. We don't have to put gas for cutting the grass. And so I get it. And I'm in West Texas. We get these big old strong winds, so you're going to have to put dirt on there. So if you're a school and it's financial, I get it. But if you're talking to me about just being a baseball guy, a purist, I like the most purest form of the game, and that's real live umpires, no pitch clock. We're gonna have errors. There's some mistakes. That's just part of it. It's just I tell my kids, baseball is the greatest analogy to life, and every time we change it, it's becoming less and less of an analogy to life. But
no, you're right. I actually I like something that you just said there. I'm gonna clip that. You said it's part of life. Sometimes you get a bad hop.
You're gonna get it, man.
You're Mr. Miyagi. You're a fortune cookie. You don't even know it. Give us some juice here.
Hey, I've had some great. I'm gonna shout out my baseball coach that I played for, Coach Joe Ray Hawsey. He's a high school Hall of Fame coach, and Coach Rodney Gardner, who I coached under. He's also a Hall of Fame high school coach. The Texas Association. They're both actual Hall of Famers for the Texas High School Baseball Association. And so I've learned a lot from them. And so not everything is me, but I've been able to absorb it and take it in. So, but yeah, baseball's an analogy to life, man. That you're gonna have your struggles, you're gonna have your victories. We're just trying to live somewhere in the middle.
Coach, I thought you said that this wasn't what you do, but that hour flew by. We're at the end here. I'm gonna ask you these last two questions. Before we go, Coach, if there is a player out there, past, current, I want to know, who are the 5 players you're bringing to an all expense paid steak dinner? I mean, if you're vegan or vegetarian, I hate to offend you there, but a nice steak restaurant. We'll put you guys at the highest penthouse suite in Vegas. Who are you inviting, Coach? What are the 5 players?
So the person who made me fall in love with baseball and defense, Ozzie Smith.
Oh, yeah.
The Wizard of Oz. Okay, the Wizard. That I love that guy. That's one of the reasons I love baseball. One of the reasons that's why I love the St. Louis Cardinals. So Ozzie Smith, Albert Pujols, another St. Louis Cardinal. Nolan Ryan. Man, there's a lot. Let me see. I don't want to miss somebody. Nolan Ryan. I got 2 left. I don't want to stick just to the Cardinals. I'm gonna pick Mariano Rivera from the New York Yankees.
Oh yeah.
That was my grandpa's favorite player. That was my grandpa's favorite player. So Mariano, Albert, Ozzie Smith, Nolan Ryan. Oh man, let's see. One more. Let's go new school. Let's go with oh man, his name just slipped on mine. And I'm using my phone as a camera, so I can't look at.
Well, this is my guess. Were you going to say Bryce Harper?
No, that's a good guess. I'm thinking Dodgers. He was with the Red Sox. Oh my God.
Wow.
Mookie Betts.
Oh yeah, man, that's a good one.
Mookie
That's
Betts.
a good one. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Hey, Coach. I think you're a good follow, and I'm a nerd. I'm a fan of the game and nerd. But if there, maybe now everyone wants to tune in and see that ball hit your knee. But if anyone wants to follow you on social, what are some ways that they can get in contact? They can follow, check your videos.
Yeah. So Coach Sanchez 9, the number 9. That was my high school number. Coach Sanchez 9 on Instagram. On Facebook is just Coach Sanchez. I'm surprised nobody had taken that on Facebook, but it's just Coach Sanchez on Facebook.
Yeah, it's all yours.
Yeah, I don't do Twitter or X, whatever it is now. But yeah, those are pretty much the only social media that I'm a part of.
Well, hey, you're entertaining. It's good enough stuff on IG. You don't have to be a master of a jack of all trades. You've mastered one. Coach, I just want to say this was awesome, and you shouldn't sell yourself short. You belong in the camera. Like, this was great. This was back and forth. Coach, I'm gonna have to bring you back. Maybe we can come back and we can do a pod on the All-Star game. When that rolls around, maybe we can do a World Series pod. I'm gonna have you back, Coach.
I'm game. I'm game. So, like I said, I don't like to do too much, but I've done a couple. I used to have a little small audio podcast with my stepdaughter. So I'm kind of familiar with it a little bit. I actually do every now and then I would do a video of the playoffs going into it, and I talk about the teams or whatever. I'll get some of my friends to talk about it, but I'm definitely game with you, man. I do it.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, it would be a highlight of my day. I'm telling you, I'll be like, hey, I'm not coming into work today. I got to prep. Me and Coach Sanchez tonight. Are you sick? No, I'm not sick. I'm with Coach Sanchez tonight.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the invite, man.
It was great, Coach. Have a great rest of the week. I know we're early in the week here. Just got out of that holiday weekend. But you were great, Coach, and we'll be checking you on the social media. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
We'll see you.